Everybody, how's it going? My name is Dom Douglas, and I finally, after over a week, do not feel sick and or allergic to the entire world. That being said, intro time.
My name is Dom Douglas, and I am back-to-back XWW Commentator of the Year. With that comes some responsibilities, but also a lot of fun and excitement, and I'm never ashamed to look like a complete fool. Speaking of that, I love playing Magic the Gathering, so much so that I kind of think I play it a little bit too much, and I have some opinions. So now, XtremeTVOnline.com and XWW Wrestling on YouTube presents my podcast where I talk about Magic the Gathering. It's the Goblin Grenade Podcast.
I still haven't fixed the intro. I redid it too, and I had it re-rendered. I just didn't put it in the new one. Oh well, next week. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, Goblin Grenade Podcast. My name is Dom Douglas, the back-to-back XWW Commentator of the Year, and I am finally feeling halfway decent to do this. It is April 2nd, and so this is going up tomorrow on the 3rd. But for the last 7 or 8 days, I have been either sick or allergic. And it was so bad that I actually thought it was something completely different that I had. I thought I had the big, scary thing that you don't want to get. And because what happened was I was sick. And I know I was sick. It was like, felt like I was down under the weather. My body felt like Joe Pesci at the end of most of his gangster movies that he's in. I was very congested. But I had no fever, no chills. I could hold food down, hydrated as much as I could. And, still felt weird. Like I still felt off. Like my body was definitely fighting some illness. And then I thought it kept getting worse and worse. And so I thought I had actually contacted a completely, I thought I got the COVID. And it turns out I didn't. After a few days of feeling super congested, super not hard to breathe, but having only one clear nasal passage to breathe in, my body started hurting less. So the sickness was I was getting over that, but then my allergies kicked in, which is funny because I haven't had allergies to pollen and whatnot in the change in seasons for 30 years. My allergies disappeared when I was a mid-teenager, and it was to the point that a lot of mucus would be produced and I would be congested and blocked up. And the only thing that worked was something called Zeldane D. And they took that off the market because it was too good and doing some bad things. And that kind of, like, I've always said, I've been woodsy. Like, I mess around with people, but I'm telling the truth. I know what squirrel tastes like. I grew up in South Jersey, which is, as country as you can get for that state. And, you do some things in the woods, man. And people think I'm like kind of like pulling their leg and whatnot, but I'm like, no, really. I used to like go out. I used to hunt. I used to camp a lot. And then the allergies started getting worse. They were always bad when I was a kid, but they only got worse and worse. And I was still doing the outdoor type of stuff. So you can't really hunt if you're congested and you're sneezing all the dang time. And it's just, so I just kind of gave up the outdoorsy life stuff because I couldn't breathe. See what I mean? That sounded chunky too. So that's how I knew it took me a few days, but I was like, oh man, my allergies have come back all of a sudden. Because I know they can come back or you can develop them later in life. But I've never heard of them coming back to you with a vengeance. So that is what's going on in my life right now. And thank you to everybody who suggested things on Facebook and whatnot to me. All of them have been taken into consideration except for a neti pot because I cannot wrap my brain around it. I've tried it before. It just don't feel proper. I don't know why. So what do we got lined up for today? And I could have easily have gone to the 2 other Commander deck episodes that I've done in case of stuff like this. But there's some crazy allegations and truths to those allegations coming out when it comes to art in Magic the Gathering. More specifically, the art of Fay Dalton. And that's where we're going to kick things off right now. So Fay Dalton did the card, Trouble in Pairs. I'm just going to open up this particular part from MTG Arena Zone, and we're going to switch with the Trouble in Pairs. This art was clearly stolen. It's a bad representation, but this is the Trouble in Pairs art, from Fay Dalton. This is the Trouble in Pairs art that they've done. This is artist Donatello Giacola, his art for Cyberpunk. Also, I got this particular comparison from MTG Arena Zone. This was actually when they had posted something along the lines of, "Hey, Fay Dalton, do you mind not stealing my work on highly paid public commercial commissions in the genre which I make my living and hold my reputation dear? This is criminal and theft. The artwork from the Mohawk vested person is from Cyberpunk 2020. And they said, what other works have you stolen? Apparently on this card, 3 to 4 more. Cyberpunk. And they accused them of the stolen artwork and the assets. So Trouble in Pairs is getting some flack from also a Magic the Gathering artist, Donatello. Donato as well is a Magic the Gathering artist. This is not their first go round on this, but it turned out almost every single piece of this card is stolen. Every single art piece of this card is stolen. From this person's face being stolen, it's literally like not even almost a copy paste. This could have been done digitally for all we know. This is literally just the same art flipped with a vest. This arm is from a different artist. At the moment, there's like an alt art of this going around that I would love to get, where the art is everything is just redacted, and I'm going to try to pull it up. This is the art that I'm talking about. This person that you saw, that is from Will Hugsley. The background is even Dantano. Along with this, the arm is Boris Vallejo. So, and from what I gathered, people are still finding various assets of the axes and the leather jacket that have been tied to other arts. The problem with this, however, is the next 2 sets, if I'm not mistaken, have already been printed. Like Bloomburrow's the next set, I think, and that's already printed. And they have art in that. I don't know if they have art in Modern Horizons, but the next 2 standard sets have already gone to the printers. Modern Horizons is already packaged up, ready to go next month. This artist, along with the allergies, I got an itchy eye for some reason. Along with just this one piece of art, we could be potentially looking at 10 to 15 other pieces of art that this person has done that is nothing but plagiarized and ripped off of other artists. And it's not even like a retrace or anything like that either. It's not even changing anything up. They literally have copy pasted, rotated, flipped horizontally, vertically, and threw a vest on. Or with the arm, not even changed anything. Like, this is really bad for Wizards of the Coast right now. Because not only, they've already said, and they had to legally choose their wording carefully for Fay Dalton, that that they're no longer working with this person. But also, like, the one card has 3 to 4 artists, maybe 5 artists that have a legitimate claim that their art was used to sell a product. So Wizards is going to be not in a good spot right now, if you will, for these this stolen art from this one artist. This one artist, okay, is going to cause a litany of issues, from people wanting now are going to, maybe even Wizards may want to say we should dip our hands further into AI to prevent this, even though AI technically is just stealing art. At the moment, it's not creating it. It's just kind of amalgamizing things. But the other thing is, you don't have this happen. There's checks and balances and whatnot to prevent this from happening. But when you are creating the mass quantity of cards that you are per year, because every set now has 4 numbers in the card, like the card ID number on the bottom left of the card now is in the thousands each set, and you're doing 4 standard sets a year. And also 2 to 3 other ancillary sets, because we've already had a remaster set, I think, this year. We have Modern Horizons coming out. We have the Assassin's Creed weird thing going up. Like, you're printing tens of thousands of cards a year. Stuff's going to slip through the cracks. Maybe it's time to, like, slow your roll on all this art that you're trying to accomplish. And Wizards of the Coast is one of the biggest employers, even though they're all kind of independent contractor type of things, of artists, of fantasy artists in the world, especially with all the art that they need to be done. But you're going to come across a lot more of these problems, I feel, in the next couple of sets, if not for a couple of years at this point. Because one person was saying that they only had a week to do the art. Like, they were told, hey, can you do this? Oh, by the way, we need it done by the end of the week. They had like 5 to 7 days to finish this art piece. And it is a gigantic art piece. It's not like a simple undertaking, especially with the fantasy artists and whatnot. It takes some time. So this person put like 80 hours into that week to get the art to Wizards of the Coast. They were paid, and I think they're paid rather well. I could be wrong. Leave a comment down below if I'm wrong. Also, most of this information with the Fay Dalton stuff I discovered through Magic Historian, purveyors of fine cardboard, luxury cardboard. So yeah, that's my feelings on the Fay Dalton thing. They're not working with them again. This person's career in this kind of card art department and art in general more than likely is over. Just the audacity of just like looking at it, looking at the collage that they do of this. It's just very embarrassing that they tried to pass this over. And the other part is that they were successful in passing this over. The next issue. All right, so we've done art. Now we're getting into some Outlaws of Thunder Junction. But we're going to go behind the scenes. We're going to peel the curtain back a little bit. If you don't know, now you know. LGS's took a bath again on Murders at Karlov Manor. The set didn't sell as well. The set wasn't good. The play boosters weren't being sold as much. So distributors, in knowing that Outlaws of Thunder Junction may actually be a very bad set monetary sales wise, have looked and told LGSs, get your orders in now, because we are not restocking. And what distributors usually do, they'll make their order to Wizards. I need 1 million boxes of Murders of Karlov Manor. A million case boxes. So that's like 6 million boxes of Murders of Karlov Manor. Out of that 1 million case boxes that we get, we're going to hold back like, I don't know, 200,000, 300,000, something like that. I'm just making numbers up. Just in case LGSs really want this. It's a really good product. And also we can put some aside for later use to speculate to see, you know, if this set increases like 3 to 4 years down the line. So I would be an LGS and I would say, hey, I need X amount. I need 10 cases of Markov Murders of Karlov Manor. Now, what the distributors are doing is, hey, tell me how many cases of Outlaws at Thunder Junction that you want, because that's all you're going to get from us anyway. We're only making an order to demand. So I'm going to take all my LGSs and I'm going to say they all ordered 200,000 boxes. So now I'm going to go to Wizards of the Coast and be like, yeah, I only need 200,000 boxes. That's bad. That's very bad, because Wizards can always claim, that's how they claim their numbers on sales. It's not in store. It's always how many boxes distributors have bought. So when they say we sold 2 million boxes of Murders of Karlov Manor, your distributors bought those. Once it goes from distributor to the LGS, like once that chain from Wizards to the distributors, that's it. That's the only thing Wizards counts. From distributors to LGSs and Walmarts and all that other stuff and Amazon, they can kind of track it, but they don't count those numbers. So you could say 5 million cases of Murders of Karlov Manor were bought, and in stores there's 3.5 million just sitting there collecting dust. So now distributors are buying less boxes from Wizards for Outlaws at Thunder Junction. So what does Wizards of the Coast decide to do? Kind of sort of force stores to buy more Outlaws at Thunder Junction. How do you do that? Well, Modern Horizons 3 Commander Precons, which is another issue we'll get into really quickly, they have collector's editions. And those collector's editions are all nothing but foil. Every single card of the Hunter is a foil card. They're very pricey. And you yourself can buy pre-pringled cards from Wizards of the Coast for like hundreds of dollars. Don't get me started on... I'm going to lose track here real quick. I saw a person buy all 4 Warhammer 40K premium commander decks. And this person spent $2,000 on it, because these were going for like a couple $100 at that point. Every single one of those 400 cards were crimpled, were foiled, pringled. They were bent like a U. I can go over right now and show you what I mean. While we wait, this has been in a binder since I opened it. I don't know if you can tell, but you can see it's not straight. It's not sitting there. There's a little boop, boop. Now, because it's Animsmite, nobody cares about it. All the Warhammer 40K premium looked like this when this dude opened it up. looked like this when they opened it up. And Wizards still charged a premium price. These decks were hundreds of dollars. And he was happy with it. And I was like, why? Every single one of those cards are a Pringle. So, getting back on track, Modern Horizons 3 has precons for some commander precons for some reason in a bullshit excuse by Mark Marrow, who said you don't want modern decks from this set. You won't pay the price for it. Really? Y'all had the audacity to release the 30th anniversary edition like 2 years ago and charged $1,000 for 4 packs of fake cards, proxies that you made. You charged $1,000 for these. And you had the gall to say modern players don't want a Modern Horizons event deck with Modern Horizons 3 because of price. Do you know how expensive it is to get at least a tier 1 deck, even a tier 2 to 3 deck in Modern? There's a reason why my Modern deck is mono red, because it costs me like not as much money as every other deck. It's legitimately like $1,000 plus just for the barrier of entry with the mana bases and whatnot for a Modern deck. And the reason why I chose the Memekin deck was because I can convert it to a Pioneer deck. And I can be that 8th person if they need a slot to fire. I can be that next person that is needed to fire the event off. And I have a Pioneer, and I changed 12 cards, and I have a Modern deck. And when I bought Manamorphoses at the time, a playset, they were $20 a pop for uncommon. A year later, they were $5 a piece. That's the risk you take. And without Manamorphose, that deck is not Modern viable at all. But the fact that they said, that's why we released Commander Precons. Okay, now you're releasing Commander Precon Premium Editions with this, so that's kind of a lie right there, Rosewater. Talking out of both ends. And I love you, but I call bullshit when I see it. So now, circling all the way back, how does Wizards of the Coast make stores buy more boxes of Outlaws of Thunder Junction? Simple. Forcing them to run 4 drafts in the first 4 weeks of Outlaws of Thunder Junction's release. To reserve your allocations for for Modern Horizons 3 Commander Precon Premium Editions. What does that mean? Well, a standard draft requires a box of play boosters. So that's each store who wants Modern Horizons 3 Premium Precons now has to order 4 more boxes of Outlaws of Thunder Junction. It's a savvy, if not scuzzy, move by Wizards of the Coast. And I've been looking at the previews of this set, and I thought I was going to go into them a little bit, but not much. It's looking kind of cool. It's looking kind of okay. But that also means Outlaws of Thunder Junction isn't selling well to LGSs, but also the distributors have said no. And this is going to confuse distributors because Wizards did not tell the distributors as well. Wizards just told the LGSs this. If you're in a WPN store, Wizards Play Network, you were told. The distributors weren't told this. So now, if the distributor doesn't know, they think there's renewed interest in Outlaws of Thunder Junction, making those distributors buy more boxes so Wizards' numbers look better. Because once a distributor buys the box, Wizards is considered that the sale. So that's how Wizards of the Coast is gently forcing stores to reserve their allocations for the premium precons that are going to be hundreds of dollars a piece, but yet we don't want to buy Modern Horizons event deck with the Modern Horizons 3 set because of price. All right. Now, the store I go to is not going to have a problem firing off these 4 drafts. This store fires 5 events off at F&M, Draft, Standard, Modern, Pioneer, and I think Legacy or Vintage, along with the Casual Commander. It's a full room back there, and all these events fire off every Friday. They are not going to have a problem at all. Some stores that don't have a draft base at all are going to have a problem. Because some stores just don't have a draft crew. Draft isn't the thing. It's Standard or Pioneer or Modern, you know. So forcing stores to do a draft is kind of scuzzy. And now, could Outlaws at Thunder Junction be the turning point needed to finally get some changes when it comes to the amount of set releases and the power creep and a lot of the things that are going on in the game right now? As I said, too much product coming out, too many different type of cards coming out. The Standard is still a gigantic poop show. I want to believe in Standard. I really do. But I'm just not seeing it. Along with the overabundance of Commander. Wizards is catering to the casual EDH player, the Commander players, way too much. Way too much. And it is spoiling the Standard environment by doing that way because there's too much of a focus on legendary creatures. Now, Rosewater has said, because Outlaws of Thunder Junction has the most legendary creatures in a set ever, there's a significant shift into not having as many legendary creatures in future sets moving forward. Okay, cool. But I'm hoping Outlaws of Thunder Junction kind of is the slap in the face that Wizards of the Coast needs to actually get their shit right and get back on track and get all the things needed to get done in this done, because they need to fix a lot of things, and Standard has to be the key. Standard used to be the barrier of entry, the entry point into Magic the Gathering. Now it's Commander. They need to bring that back because way more people play Standard because it's also constantly changing. They kind of do that with Modern Horizons sets, but those only come out every few years. So we'll wait and see, but I don't know if that's going to be the case. Now, in the rest of my notes, it says some Outlaw Thunder Junction previews. Now, because this is an edited episode, which it should have been in the first place, I think we're going to go over a few cards, mainly some of the mechanics. We have Jace Reawakened. He's back. Jace is back as a Planeswalker, folks. For 2 blue, for Legendary Planeswalkers, Jace, with the static implication, you can't cast this spell during your first, second, or third turns of the game. +1, it starts with 3 loyalty. +1, draw a card, then discard a card. +1, you may exile a non-land card with mana value 3 or less from your hand. If you do, it becomes plotted. We'll get to that. -6, until end of turn, whenever you cast a spell, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. And now we have Oko the Ringleader. So yes, this set does have 2 Planeswalkers in it. Oko the Ringleader is 2 green and a blue for Legendary Planeswalker Oko. These are the full art borderless versions, by the way, which is one of the 4 or 5 arts that both of these cards will have. Starts with 3 loyalty. At the beginning of combat on your turn, Oko the Ringleader becomes a copy of up to one target creature you control until end of turn, except he has hexproof. +1, draw 2 cards. If you've committed a crime, we'll get that in a bit. This turn, discard a card. Otherwise, discard 2 cards. -1, create a 3/3 green elk creature token. Everyone's like, oh, Oko loves elks. I think he is one. Like, I seriously, either that or he's like the ruler of elks or something like that, along with being a Fey person. It's a long, complicated story. -5, for each other non-land permanent you control, create a token that's a copy of that permanent. For each other non-land permanent you control, creatures, enchantments, artifacts, create a token that's a copy of that. All right. So Oko looks good. And now, with the etched foil treatment, which is once again one of the other ways you can get it, we have Honest Rutstein, which is going in my old Rutstein deck. For 1 black and a green, for a legendary creature, human warlock, for a 3/2 uncommon. Whenever Honest Rutstein enters the battlefield, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So it's graveyard recursion. It's going in my Rutstein deck, and we're good with that. Tiny Bones, the Pickpocket. This is one of the other special art treatments that some cards are getting all 5 of. Tiny Bones, the Pickpocket, for 1 black mana, for a legendary creature, Skeleton Rogue, for a 1/1. It's got Death Touch, and whenever Tiny Bones, Pickpocket Leader, deals combat damage to a player, you may cast target non-land permanent card from that player's graveyard, and mana of any type can be spent to cast that spell. So it's the graveyard version of Ragavan. I can't wait to put it in some decks. I seriously can't, because there's going to be some good skeleton decks out there. Tiny Bones may be out of it, though, in the budget considerations, but, you know. One of the new mechanics is in Final Showdown. You'll notice on the mana symbol, which is 1 white, there's a plus next to it. It's an instant. This card has Spree. Choose 1 or more additional costs. So you can just cast this for 1, but you have to choose another mode. So if you choose 1 and a colorless, all creatures lose all abilities until end of turn. Then 1 and 2 colorless, not only do they get the first ability, but choose a creature you control gains indestructible till end of turn. Then if you do 3, 4, 5, if you spend all 8, full send it, destroy all creatures lose all abilities until end of turn, choose a creature you control gains indestructible. So you can save one of your creatures and kill everything else. But Spree is an interesting mechanic. It's like a new version of Modal, where it gives you different abilities. I'm not doing a full breakdown here. I am just doing some cards and just some of the mechanics. We're almost 40 minutes in of me recording, so I got to be careful with the voice. Dust Animus for 1 and a white, creature spirit, 2/3, flying. If you control 5 or more untapped lands, Dust Animus enters the battlefield with 2 +1/+1 counters on it and a lifelink counter. It's got plot 1 and a white. You may pay 1 and a white and exile this card from your hand. Cast it as a sorcery on a later turn without paying its mana cost. Plot only as a sorcery. So you can only do this on your first and second main phases. You can't do this during combat. You can't do this as a reaction to anything. So interesting that we're doing more exile shenanigans. And it's a later turn. You can choose whenever you want to bring this in. So you can have a couple cards plotted in your exile board and wait for a board wipe to happen. Yeah, we got Trained Arnyx here. Whenever Trained Arnyx attacks while saddled, it gains first strike until end of turn, scry 1. 1 and a white for a cat beast mount. That's important. With a 3/1. This has a mechanic called Saddle. 2. Tap any number of other creatures you control with power 2 or more. This mount becomes saddled until end of turn. Saddle only as a sorcery. So basically, saddling doesn't mean anything, but if that creature is saddled, it gets the bonuses on the card, which is what I explained before when reading the card explains the card. Whenever Trained Arnyx attacks while saddled. So if it just attacks, it's a 3/1. If it's saddled, it's first strike until end of turn, and you get to scry 1. So saddling gives you some benefits, but it's kind of like crewing a vehicle. Double down, 3 and a blue for an enchantment. Whenever you cast an outlaw spell, copy that spell. I love these like reflections of Latjara and whatnot, but this is a very linear, like a very narrowed version of that card. What's an outlaw, you may ask? Well, if you're an assassin, a mercenary, a pirate, a rogue, or a warlock, you are now the outlaw subtype. So if you're one of those, you're playing double down and you cast like a tiny bones, you get 2 tiny bones, even though legend rule kick into place. So you got to work around it. You got to build around it. But when you do, chef's kiss. Definitely going in some commander decks. Definitely going in my pirate deck, because I play nothing but rogues and pirates in that deck. And I would love another way to copy spells. Creature spells especially. Deep Muck Desperado for 2 and a blue for a creature hominid mercenary, a 2/4. Whenever you commit a crime, each opponent mills 3 cards. This ability triggers only once each turn. Well, what's committing a crime, you may ask? Targeting opponents, anything they control, and or cards in their graveyard is a crime. So if I hit you with a lightning bolt for 3 to your face, I've committed a crime. I hate the wording on it, but it is what it is. If I milled your cards, I think that counts as a crime. If I remove cards from your graveyard, I've committed a crime against you. If I pacify one of your creatures with an enchantment, I've committed a crime against you. So that's what the crime mechanic in Outlaws of Thunder Junction is. And I'm going to see real quick if there's anything else, because the usual suspects. The other thing in the set are deserts are back. Makes sense because it is a Wild West themed set. They are dual lands, but come into play tapped, but deal 1 damage to target opponent. So this is a land desert, taps for red and white. All 10 color pairs will be in Outlaws at Thunder Junction. So mana fixing for draft is a little easier, even though they've been printing dual land like of that nature for the last few years. There's too many lands now in standard. Too many lands. Concealed Courtyard enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or fewer other lands. So this is in there. But there's the Blooming Marsh, which has been revealed, the green-black one. The Botanical Sanctum, which is the Simic one, which is the green-blue one. Concealed Courtyard, the white-black one. Inspiring Vantage, the red-white one. And Spire Bluff Canal, the blue-red one, has been revealed. So that is it with Outlaws at Thunder Junction stuff. Not a full dive, not even important cards or anything like that. Next week will definitely be, I'm going to finish off the other 2 Commander precons. I should have done that this week, but between the Stolen Art, some previews of the set coming out, and the fact that Wizards is trying to get one over on their distributors, too much news is here not to drop. Thank you all for watching on XWW's YouTube channel. Also, XtremeTVOnline.com. $4.99 a month. The first 5 days are free. You can catch all the great XWW action. My name is Dom Douglas, and may your top deck always be mythic. I'm going to have to shave now because I just realized, woo,